Since George Janko has left Impaulsive, most people have been pointing the blame at Logan Paul for how he handled the Bobby Lee situation, as well as the infamous religion debate, which was the tipping point for the pair on the podcast. Although Mike Majlak could have also played in a major role in his inevitable departure. We'll be checking out the full details behind these speculations in today's video. For those of you that have been fans of Impaulsive, you would know having a third co-host never goes down well. In the past, there's been Spencer, and of course Logan's hometown friend Mac. This was when the majority of Impaulsive fans hated Mike for how he would constantly butt in and talk about himself. Towards the end of Mac's time on Impaulsive, he had a debate with Mike with the topics they talk about on the podcast, and many believe this stemmed Mac's departure from the podcast.
They're not cut off because you aren't able to speak or the people are loud. You generally miss the cultural point of talking about stuff that people want to hear about. I'm sorry. I'm not to be a dick to you today, but I don't think there's a single listener to this show right now who wants to watch a 24-hour live stream of you doing sponge painting. That's not a diss. That's not a diss. I'm sorry to say that.
I felt bad for Mac after this man. Imagine your childhood friend embarrassing you like this in front of an audience. I'd rather listen to someone talk about their passion than Mike talking over people and trying to make everyone feel bad for him. Mike is actually the biggest clown on the internet. 35 years old, and he's acting like an 8th grader. Mike isn't trying to have a conversation, he is trying to win one. Over time, as you would all know, Mike Majlak has now become a fan favorite for his evolution as a co-host from the start of the podcast up until now, and rightly so. But did George Janko and Mike Majlak really get on well on Impaulsive together? Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the post notification bell. This way you'll never miss out on any future celebrity videos similar to these. Around a similar time, Mike and Mac got into a debate. A viral clip went round of George Janko and Mike in a similar instance, which got fans talking.
You could be very condescending when you get into arguments.
I love this set.
How you
state an example.
When you tell people, stop, shut up, I'm talking.
I was trying to say something.
I know, but
Make it worse. Make it worse.
People take it as condescending. Not that it's a personal defect to your character or whatever, but some people are triggered.
But some people might say it's a character defect.
Well, is there an example you could state from that past?
Today, you did it to him, and you've done it before. But
I just wanted to say what I was saying.
No, I know, but people take it that you're being too dominant, over dominating them.
Well, I'm a dominant mother.
No,
I'm 6'3", I ain't 5'4".
You can see why Mike found people annoying because goddamn he was irritating in that clip. The entire comment section was flaming him with posts like, Mike was just mad that he was losing the debate, LOL, keep it up George. I'm just glad somebody didn't take his BS. The other host just up and left and quit. But George dished it right on back to him. Mike always has an excuse. Here's the thing, I'm not perfect, is his most famous quote. As most of you would know, a few weeks ago, George Janko decided to unfollow the entire Impaulsive crew, which is quite surprising, especially with Logan, considering how close and long they've known each other. If you would know how they got their careers kick-started, it was years back on Vine. Recently, George Janko featured on Brendan Schaub's podcast, and although he isn't on good terms with Logan as of now, he gave him his flowers.
I found out about Vine through Logan. And so while he was doing this, I would like write skits for him or like other influencers, and all I would ask was like, hey, like, can I be in them? And then through that, he like opened the door for me. So like Logan not only like taught me how to do it, but he also like opened the doors for all the other things. So like regardless of wherever me and Logan go, I'll always like my career, God gave him me to like, you know, like help each other.
He gave you your start.
Oh
your
yeah.
Considering how everything has unfolded, the fact George has still got Logan's back after how he treated him on the podcast, from his viewpoints to walking off set and the backlash that got, shows his character and is why people are taking a liking to his podcast rather than Impaulsive. Fans have also noticed that Impaulsive has removed him from their banners and profile pages on social media and unfollowed him there. What's also interesting is when George Janko initially made his own podcast with the title Why George Janko Is Not on Impaulsive. He did state he would still be present on Impaulsive, but wanted to have his own podcast to put his viewpoints on, which he couldn't fit into an Impaulsive podcast. Then, only a couple months after starting his own podcast, fans began to realize he was absent from a few episodes, and on April 25th, he left a cryptic tweet stating, I wasn't going to talk, but now I am. George starting his own podcast was a great move because if you've listened to the Impaulsive podcast, you've undoubtedly seen him veer off course and talk about something more profound. around. The podcast has been doing quite well thus far, with guests like Bryce Hall. The audience appear to be adoring it, and they seem especially pleased with the guests, which include well-known guests who haven't even appeared on Impaulsive. Among the guests on it are Summer Rae and Brendan Sharp. George's podcast won't ever be as well-known as Impaulsive, but his early success has undoubtedly shown him that he can be successful on his own, and this definitely contributed to his decision to leave the show. Another recent clip of the George Janko situation that got people talking was a very awkward one, to say the least. Mike Majlak was on a stream with Aiden Ross and Sneeko. An odd trio, to put it politely, and Aiden straight up asked him, why isn't George on Impaulsive anymore?
Why is Georgie not on Impulsive anymore? Is that like you don't answer that?
He's too Christian.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
He didn't go to the ritual in the basement.
Yeah,
He refused.
that's what it was.
He kept
Bro,
his hand on
what?
the
I
Bible.
still don't know. I still haven't seen anything about this ritual, bro. Is there any? Is that?
I just let's not talk about that shit. It's scary though.
The fact that Mike refuses to discuss the matter at all and hasn't wished George well moving ahead suggests that something must have transpired behind the scene. What do you guys think about everything? Do you believe that the three engaged in something behind the scenes? And will George uphold his previous promise to expose them? Post a comment below. A lot of people have had their say about this clip, and as usual, the majority are siding with George because he believes in God, and these dudes probably sold their souls. On a similar note to that tweet, people also realized that George Janko liked a similar tweet, stating, "Y'all were awesome 3 years ago before you sold your souls for fame." Kicking your friend to the curb for being a Christian and starting his own podcast. George Janko is the most real influencer out there. You two sold out. And that isn't all, because as we mentioned in a previous video, Jeff Vitek was recently featured as the third co-host on an Impaulsive episode, and the entire comment section was loving him on there. It seemed literally every comment was about how good Jeff would be a host, which seemed a little odd. George also believes so, as he liked to tweet saying, they're trying to swerve the situation by deleting comments mentioning George. And yet, they are happy to poke fun at him early on in the episode. Check the comments section. They're boosting likes on anything that mentions Jeff, whilst deleting anything mentioning @George Janko. It wouldn't be surprising that they're doing damage control, because Logan Paul, out of anyone, knows how to deal with controversies and the best ways to maneuver them. They're most likely going to try and swipe this under the rug and quickly move on. Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.